Good evening, Apreku. Which photographs do you have here?
So this is Sewa Fusu. That's Daddy Lumba's wife. This is Daddy Lumba, and then this is Odo Bruni.
Odo Bruni?
Yes.
Who is that?
Daddy Lumba's wife, or alleged wife. I want to be quite...
No, so is this a wife pursuant to matrimonial causes?
Yes.
So they got married
by her in Germany.
They got married in Germany?
Yes.
By German law?
By German law, but it's also a monogamous arrangement. Because, you know, in law, the forum you marry, which allows for monogamous marriage, is equally recognized around the world as monogamous marriage. So when we say monogamous, we simply mean that when you marry one person, you cannot marry another person. You cannot marry...
So this is the law under which this marriage was celebrated?
Yes.
In Germany?
In Germany.
And it was never dissolved?
No, it was
until
not.
his passing?
That is so.
So technically he's married to her?
That is so.
But they were not living together?
That is so.
They were separated?
Yes, so she was in Germany. In fact, it was after he passed that she came down during the 1 week. In fact, many people saw her for the first time during the 1 week
but she's been known. People know Lumba, know her.
Yes, but
what's her name again?
Sewa Fusu.
Yes, Sewa Fusu.
The first time people saw her, you know, she was on social media.
Is her Fusu from the Charles Kojo Fusu? From Mrs. Fusu?
Yes, F-O-S-U-H.
Okay.
That's it. So
and this
she's
is
taking
Odo Bruni, who is the wife that she was living with at East Legon.
Yes.
And so did Lumba have children with this woman?
Yes, 3.
And with this woman?
Yes.
3 as
well?
In
fact, no, there's I think more than 3. In fact, when many people came to his residence at East Legon, her children were also seen at the venue. So he has children with both women.
Okay, but this is the woman she was staying with?
Yes.
Were they married?
That's the thing. I really want to be careful in picking my words because...
Okay, what does the rate say? So this is the one who has filed
yes.
an application to the court, an injunction to stop the funeral.
From going on, and then
because
she claims that she has her marriage, or her marriage puts her in the position as the wife, the legal wife of Daddy Lumba, and that any attempt to sidestep her in planning the funeral is an affront to the right she has as a wife and the responsibility she has to perform certain widowhood rites as the funeral of her husband. So under Akan customary law, the wife has a role to play at the funeral, and not only the wife, but the wife's family has a role to play. So you remember when Fly's Jerry John Rawlings passed, his funeral at the State House, the wife's family from Menchia, that's Cornelius Ajama Rawlings, the family from Menchia also came. They came to present gifts. What's the fancies would say, igrazi, items that you used to bath the
body.
Exactly, and so those are the customary rites that the wife is supposed to perform. So it says in the writ filed at the High Court in Kumasi, Akosua Sewa Fusu is seeking several declarations, including recognition as the only surviving spouse of the late musician and a sole individual performed or entitled to perform the widowhood rites. So these are the things she's asking for. 1, declare her as the only surviving spouse of the late Daddy Lumba, declare that she alone has the legal right to perform his widowhood rites, and then restrain the head of Lumba's family, that is Kofi Owusu Fosu, from recognizing or dealing with the second defendants, that's Odo Bruni, Preslo Foriata. I don't know if this is the Achim Foriata.
It spells the same, so I'm sure it's
yes, a spouse of the deceased, and then restrain Odo Bruni from publicly presenting herself as the surviving wife of the late musician. Now, she here is claiming that Daddy Lumba and her are married under German law, the civil marriage registry in Bonheim in Germany. And so by virtue of that, they lived in Germany and they have 3 children. And so by virtue of that, she is claiming that she is the wife entitled to perform.
Children: Calvin Kojo Fosu 31, Charlene Fosu 24, and Sierra Fosu 20.
20 years.
Wow.
So what does the law say concerning these things? In Ghana, once an individual marries under any monogamous administration, when we say monogamous, it means that once you are married to one person, you cannot marry another. So in Ghana, we have 3 main systems that is recognized for marriage. You have marriage under the ordinance. You have marriage under Islamic law. They say Mohammedan, but I think it's more appropriate to say Islamic. Yes, it's quite offensive when you use Mohammedan. And then under customary law, the 3rd. Now, under Islamic law, you are entitled to maximum of 4 wives if you are able to show you're able to take care of them as a man. Under customary law, you are entitled to marry
Endless number.
Endless number, so long as you're able to take care of them. But
under customary law, is there that caveat to take care of them? Who judges it? Under Islamic law, it's quite a strict process. There's a means test that you can go through. I'm not sure whether customary law has that means test.
Generally, we would say that if you're able to take care of them.
Those
but we all know
to say that when the cocoa season comes, then you can take
often,
another wife.
Most often, it was cocoa farmers, rich farmers, and the intent was to have children who would be able to take care of the farm. But you are there, you don't have any farm, you don't have any property to take care of, you're going to take multiple wives. There will be a burden on you.
Well, but that's the individual's choice. So I'm just saying that we have to distinguish between customary laws, no strict adherence to prove that you can't take care of more than one woman,
and then Islamic law.
The Islamic one, which has a very clear way to establish criteria. It. But fair enough. Okay, let's move on.
And so, if you marry under the ordinance, and note that it's not just the ordinance per se, that's the ordinance in Ghana, but under a similar legal regime in another country, and you cannot marry under any other system. So if you marry under the ordinance in Ghana, you cannot marry under customary law.
Hold it, let me inform viewers who are just joining. If you are just joining us, we are discussing the legal action that has been filed by Daddy Lumba's wife. She's asking that the funeral be injuncted because she has not been recognized as the sole surviving wife of Charles Kojo Fosu, the famous Ghanaian and global musician, whose funeral had been announced for December 6th, you said?
December 6th.
Yes. December 6th at the Baba Yara Stadium. She's filed a writ in the High Court?
High Court Kumasi.
The High Court Kumasi, challenging the status of Daddy Lumba's other wife, if you like. So that's what we are trying to explain legally and how it works. Thank you very much for joining us.
So under Ghanaian law, once you marry under the ordinance, you cannot marry under any other system. So if Kwame takes Ama, and they either go to the marriage registry, they either go to the registrar general, or they marry in a church, and knows that it's also specific. Because there are some churches that have the authority to issue the certificates. So for instance, Methodist, Presby, Catholic, and then some of the recognized churches that have the authority to issue certificates. Once you marry there, you cannot marry anywhere else.
Once you conduct an ordinance marriage.
An ordinance marriage, you cannot marry even under custom.
Yes, you can't marry under custom.
You cannot marry. Yeah. It's bars you. So it is ordinance in Ghana and ordinance in the equivalent in UK, in Germany, in anywhere. So also under German civil law, once you contract a marriage under ordinance under German civil law, you can equally not marry under any system again.
It's strictly monogamous.
It's strictly monogamous. A similar thing.
And this is the marriage that she's alleging was conducted in
Germany, and no order for dissolution, no divorce.
Since then, there's been no order.
There has been no order.
Does she explain the separation of she and her partner in the rates anyhow?
Well, the thing is, the ambit of divorce is strict. Separation doesn't come in. Divorce is a legal technical term. Was the order given by the courts?
So you mean divorce is not gleaned by behavior?
No.
It should be found out from the fact.
Yes.
Presented before a court which grants the application.
Yes.
Until and unless such an application is granted, under the law, the parties are deemed married.
Married, yes. Okay. Either that, or if it's under custom, you have to perform the specific rites that are recognized under custom. So, for example, for the accounts, you have to come back to the woman's family and the woman would give you the drink. Often, when they give you the schnapp, they can give you maybe 3-4 bottles of schnapp. The family is supposed to keep one. They can drink 2 or 3, but they must keep 1 bottle.
As evidence?
Yes, as evidence of marriage. And that bottle will also be returned in occasion of divorce.
Okay, so if you marry under ordinance in Germany,
yes,
and you come to Kumasi, can you divorce that marriage? Can you dissolve that marriage by a traditional process?
No.
If you undertake a traditional process, it will be null and void?
It will be null and void. Traditional process can only be applied to traditional marriage. That is the return of the drinks. So for instance, under Islam, they have certain specific rites they perform where the man can see talak, talak, talak. After obviously you've seen the imam and there has been investigation as to whether the divorce has broken down. And then after that, they are supposed to have that divorce also registered at the local district. So those are the ambits for which, and this has not been done in this instance. And so once you do that, you commit a misdemeanor.
Once you marry whilst you are in another marriage legally.
Yes.
Which is what she's alleging that Daddy Lumba did.
Yes.
With Odobroni.
Odobroni. That is, if she's able to substantiate or show that indeed they married under another system, and that she's able to show that still per the marriage certificate issued in Bornheim, Germany, there has been no dissolution of the marriage thereafter. Then it's bigamy, and then obviously the man is no more, so he cannot be charged of bigamy. But this is just for legal education.
But it will mean that the rights of Odobroni will be affected.
Yes, will be extinguished.
So if, for instance, if Lumba has died intestate, and therefore the estate is subject to the interstate succession law.
Yes.
And the interstate succession law says that 1/3 to wife, 1/3 to family, isn't it?
And 1/3
and 1/3 to children. Then the 1/3 to the wife will have to go to
the legally recognized wife.
And however, Odobroni.
However, Odobroni's children, so long as they were children of Daddy Lumba, would be entitled
even if they're over 18.
If they are above 18, they
Yes.
may not be entitled as dependents.
Okay.
So above 18, the law is that there's actually a Humphrey Bonsu versus Quaynor that specifically mentioned this principle, that above 18, they would not be deemed to be dependents of the deceased, and then consequently entitled as of rights from his estates. But as children, generally, they may be.
But if he died with a will, and in the will he gives Odobroni that he says that's my house in East Legon to my wife Odobroni, how will the law evaluate that?
Then to my wife, who is the wife?
If he writes to my wife Odobroni, and now she's saying that Odobroni cannot be described as a wife, so will they simply delete my wife and leave Odobroni to have the property?
So that is,
or what is going to happen?
So that is when they would have to engage the courts in an interpretative exercise. So we call that proving a will in solemn form. So proving a will in solemn form means that you are now we have proven the will in common form and proving the will in solemn form. In this instance, you are challenging some provision in the will. At times it can be maybe the signature did not look appropriate. At times it can be the description the person gave to one of the children. You know that maybe Mr. A was fighting with his child, but now in his will he's describing that child as my dearest boy. Those things can be challenged, but that would have to be.
But when it's challenged, does it nullify the entire?
It is the court that makes
document,
it's
or
the court
it takes that out and keeps the rest.
Oh yes, so long as it's the specific provisions that you challenge in court. So if you are challenging provision A, that this goes to, or this is supposed to come to me, that is what we are dealing with. The court may not say that the will in and of itself, unless maybe you are challenging a part of the will that targets the essential validity of the full will.
During the trial, if during the trial the family has been sued, isn't it?
The head of family. That's another part.
Is a defendant. Is there something about it in law?
Yes,
is
but that's another part argument. So that's another.
Is that not the right person to sue?
No, that's the right person to sue. But there's also a legal discussion about who has the rights to plan the burial of an individual. So the law, and this will actually come as a shocker to many people. So assuming this person is called Samuel, and Samuel writes a will that he wishes to be cremated, or he wishes for his body to be given to Kolebu for scientific purposes. When he dies, nobody is under a legal obligation to give his body to Kolebu or to cremate him. The rights that accrues to the rights concerning the planning of the funeral accrues to the family of Samuel. And so once you die, the property is not vested. Your body is not yours.
It's for the family.
It's more or less.
So
for
they
the
decide whether they will honor what you want to do.
Exactly.
So they are going to have their funeral.
They are going to.
They
have
need
their
not
funeral.
consult her. They need not consult her.
Yes, but the thing
must
is,
they invite her?
But good. So under Akan customary law, which was what I said earlier, there are specific functions the widow must play at the funeral. So they cannot, as family, also oust the widow from performing those functions at the funeral.
If they do not recognize her as the widow, because they say over the last 20 years we haven't seen her, our son, our brother, our uncle had a very bad toxic relationship with her. We don't want to see her. She's the reason why our uncle died. Odobroni has come into his life and made him better. Without Odobroni, he would have died 10 years earlier. If they say these things, is it inconsequential to the law?
She's the widow.
But so that's if she succeeds.
That's if she succeeds. She's the widow. And so the relationship whether or not the relationship was good. So 2 years ago, in March 2023, I attended a funeral in Kumasi, close to Kwamo, Pakoso. I don't know if you know that place.
Yeah, it's my village.
I attended a funeral there. A similar thing. The man was in UK, married the woman, ordinance and everything. As time went on, the marriage was, problematic. He got a second wife. Now at the funeral,
Second wife in London,
Ghana.
Okay.
So she was here. The plan was he had passed 60, and so he wanted to come to Ghana and then marry the second one, more or less, after finalizing a divorce. That was his intention. But when he came, the issue was that she was the wife. The first woman,
the UK one.
The UK woman was the wife. And so the consensus of the family was to allow both of them perform. So she came, she did her procession. The first wife came, did the procession with the things that they used to wash the corpse. And then the second wife also came and also did her procession with the things they used to wash the corpse. Interestingly, it almost became at the grounds of the funeral.
Is it not really in law a conflict of laws question?
Yes.
Where German law is clashing with Ghanaian law, and therefore, because if the family knows Odobroni, then it suggests that there has been some processes between Daddy Lumba's family and Odobroni's family for Lumba's family to now recognize her. And then he as an individual has also contracted a marriage in another jurisdiction. It's a clear case of conflict of laws, isn't it?
Yes, but the thing is, once marriage is contracted somewhere, it is deemed recognized throughout the world.
Globally.
So marriage contracted in Ghana. So in fact, you can have an American citizen come to Ghana to contract marriage in Ghana, to get married to somebody. They would go to church in Ghana and sign. Once he goes to the US, though the marriage was contracted in Ghana, it is also applicable in the US.
So US will recognize that.
US will recognize that. And in fact, the lady can even use the marriage as a basis. Many people do it.
To travel?
Yes, to travel.
Yeah.
And
that is his wife.
That is the wife. And the American government, it happened here.
Yeah, but if the marriage is celebrated by the American citizen in Ghana as a traditional marriage, not as an ordinance marriage, it's a traditional Ghanaian traditional marriage, which is polygamous.
Yes.
Potentially polygamous. If that American goes to America, his matrimonial law, the only matrimonial law that exists in America is monogamy. The polygamy is unknown to American jurisprudence in that regard. If you have gone to conduct a polygamous marriage, would America recognize your marriage as polygamous? And therefore, that you can potentially marry more within the context of the same traditional marriage?
You can only marry more within the context of the traditional marriage.
Yes, absolutely.
That's the story.
Will America recognize that?
Yes.
Okay, so if in that regard, you have married another woman, so you marry a Ghanaian traditionally, then you marry a South African traditionally, then you marry an Angolan traditionally, because all of these cultures allow the traditional polygamy thing. And then you file for their documents and you have 3 wives. Will the American State Department recognize that an American citizen has contracted a marriage that allows him to marry 3 wives when that is contrary to U.S. matrimonial causes?
With an American citizen. Now,
yes, the man is an American citizen.
The man is an American citizen.
Yeah, he's married 3 African women at different times under a system that allows him to marry polygamy. He's in America. He wants them to have American citizenship as well, as spouses of American citizens are entitled. So he presents 3 spouses to the State Department. As give them all Americans because they are all my wives. But American law does not recognize that. In fact, it deems that as immoral.
Yes. So as an American citizen, now the dynamics have changed.
Yeah.
Because it's different if it was a Ghanaian citizen who is subject to Ghanaian law that respects and recognizes custom.
Okay,
as an American citizen, he is bound by American law, which does not recognize such potentially polygamous marriage.
So then an American citizen cannot reasonably contract a monogamous marriage in Ghana. He cannot.
Because, an American citizen?
Yes, an American citizen cannot conduct a polygamous marriage in Ghana. He can't.
He can contract a potentially polygamous marriage and possibly convert that potentially polygamous marriage
to an
ordinance marriage.
But I'm saying
even
that
in the US,
if he conducts the polygamous marriage in Ghana, he's not allowed to take on another.
No, he's not allowed to take on another.
Because his personal law does not allow it.
Yes, his personal law, which is American law. as an American
Treat
citizen.
me like one of your students. Let's come to Daddy Lumba.
Okay.
Daddy Lumba is Ghanaian. The law that governs his life is Ghanaian. He finds himself in Germany. He's going to marry. He goes through a German process.
Yes.
He does not know that this process is contrary to the Ghanaian marriage process. He understands that he's getting married to somebody, as he would have gotten married to him in Bushe in Kumasi or Kwadasu in Kumasi or something like that. So he contracts the marriage. After a while, he's not quite interested in the marriage. He tells the family that I'm not interested. He comes to Ghana and marries Odobroni. As far as he is concerned, within the context of his personal law, has he committed an offense?
Yes.
Why?
Because the existence of ordinance is a matter of law. Now, despite the existence of his personal law, he has decided to subject himself to a legal system that says that you are only entitled to marry one woman under that system. Once you have subjected yourself, and that's why there are many Ghanaians that go abroad, subject themselves to that system, and are barred from taking another person as a wife. Now,
wait, let me bring the question back to America again. Treat me as one of your students. An American senator, his son goes to Harvard, meets an Iranian woman who also comes to Harvard. The Iranian woman is strictly governed by Islamic law. He gets married to the Iranian woman in Tehran under Islamic law, which allows him to marry 4 or 5 women. Does the American jurisprudence recognize that this American citizen has contracted a marriage that is opposite to the American marriage system? If it doesn't, after he's married this Iranian woman, he marries another Iraqi woman, and then he marries another woman from Jordan. 3 wives, and that's Islamic law. He's able to do that. Now he says, issue them with American passports.
but what is his personal law as an American
But
citizen?
that's what I'm saying. Lumba's personal law is Ghanaian, it's Ashanti.
But he subjected himself.
So the
to,
American guy subjected himself to Islamic law.
But who is the administrator? You see, in this instance, there is fixed statutes.
What does that mean?
The statute is I can't find a law.
I know what statutes mean, what parliament will pass.
What parliament
But
will pass,
fixed
and
means
parliament is fixed. Parliament has said this is the law that applies to persons who marry with this procedure. So if you want to marry multiple persons, he should have contracted customary marriage. He should have come here in Ghana, gone to Kwamu, and gone to marry multiple persons. But because he intended for it to be monogamous, that is why he took her and married her according to monogamous law.
He was unaware that he was doing a monogamous law because this lady is Ghanaian.
Oh, they would have told.
And so, because this lady is Ghanaian and he's Ghanaian, and they find themselves in Germany and they want to get married. And in Germany, if you have to get married, after you do the adwa and the deba, you still have to go and sign something. As far as he's concerned, that's what he was doing. Because his personal law is Akan customary law.
But you have subjected yourself knowingly, and you must know. You must know the ramifications of the forms of marriage you intend. In fact, at that sitting, when you are signing, the officer would inform you that this is what you are getting yourself into.
That is 30 years ago.
So how he forgot?
Did the officer inform? Do you know?
Oh, but that is what's supposed to be
But
done.
then
The officer issuing the certificate will tell you.
State Department should issue all the 3 women with American passports if the young American man has married one Iranian under Islamic law, after that married a Jordanian under Islamic law, and married an Iraqi under Islamic law.
Iran recognizes, Iraq recognizes,
Yes.
Jordan recognizes,
Yes.
America doesn't recognize.
Why won't America recognize?
Because that is America's law.
So Lumba is Ghanaian.
But that
He's
is
Akan.
German. That is German law. So once you have subjected yourself to, when you go to Rome, you do what?
But the American subjected himself to Islamic law to marry the Iranian guy.
So if you've subjected yourself to Islamic law, you subject. But don't come and force the American states to adhere to the terms of your choice.
So the American states will ask him, choose the wife you want us to issue the passport.
Yes.
Because we are going to issue to only one wife.
And even that one, once you choose, make sure you come and perform American marriage. One that is recognized. So that is why I said that monogamous marriage.
As it is, the American State Department will not recognize that polygamous marriage that you have gone to do.
Yes, so it may be recognized for other purposes. But for the purpose of papers, issuing of papers and all those things, it is only one wife that has been contracted under a monogamous system. That is why when you come to Ghana and you go to Christ the King and you marry at Christ the King, you can still use that to apply for papers in the US. That is why when you go and marry at AMA, you can still use that to apply for papers in the US. But if you go and marry,
because it fits with U.S.
exactly
law. But okay, can the one who has been sued, the head of family, contest the forum of the High Court that he would like this to be moved to the Asante Hennes Court?
No.
Why not?
But why should it move to the Asante Hennes Court?
But a process can initiate from the Asante Hennes Court in marriage matters.
Oh, matrimonial matters for the purpose of distributing.
Of course, yes, it can go to the original House of Chiefs.
Well, I think it should.
You think it should, but I'm asking you legally. Can he counterclaim against her at the original House of Chiefs?
Once the forum is appropriate, the forum is appropriate. He's going
to argue that the forum is not appropriate because they are dealing with culture.
But the High Court has jurisdiction. In fact, there are cases where the High Court has applied custom.
The High Court has applied custom.
Yes.
So he can ask the High Court to rule on custom. Can he do that?
Yes. Nikwe versus Oko, Nikpapo Amati versus Daniel Saki Kwakupum. In fact, there's a case that
who is Daniel Saki Kwakupum?
Not Nisaki. Not Nisaki. But there are cases I've done. There was one Kwewu. The man was in mortuary for about a year and a half, and the court had to now determine Kwewu customary law had to look at who was entitled to conduct the funeral processes, because the wife was fighting with the larger family as to the right to bury the man. And so the High Court indeed has jurisdiction to make pronouncements on issues of custom, per the right given to them under Article 1.
Some of you lawyers are trying to raise the moral high ground and claim that Odobroni is not properly married and all that.
Oh,
I'm not sure whether
I'm not saying that.
I think that the guy should contest the forum.
You see,
and insist that he wants this matter heard, or he should counter sue her in the original.
Counter sue her for what?
She should also take out a writ against her that she's disturbing the funeral process, and so they should call her to order. Because as far as they are concerned, they have finished with that marriage.
That's why she would have to substantiate. So the substantiation is showing marriage certificates, that I have married to the man, the marriage certificate has been issued, and consequently I am the wife.
Does the court not care that, for instance, assuming over the last 20 years she's had absolutely no relationship with Daddy Lumba? Does the court not care about that?
There are systems of there are legal requirements that may be passed for a divorce to be issued. So, for instance, if you do not stay with somebody for 5 years, it may be deemed as abandonment. But that one, you go to courts.
Is it not 7 years?
It's 5. 7 years is if you've never been seen. If you've not been seen or heard.
Yes, but they can invoke some of the might be able to invoke some of these things.
Yeah, no, but for Section 33 of the Evidence Act is if no contact has been heard of you, there's been proof that all efforts made to reach the person has been made and it has failed, the court will deem, or it will be deemed that you are dead. And based on that,
no, that's a different matter. If we look at over the last 8 years of Lumba's life in photographs, and we don't see her, and we see Odobroni, and Odobroni's toddler children, who he went to visit Nana Akufo-Addo with. There's a photograph of him and Nana Akufo-Addo in the study.
We showed it.
Yes, and he has Odobroni's, I think their last child, 6 years or something like that. And his last 7 years shows that he's been relating to Odobroni. Is that inconsequential to the court? Are they going to ignore all that and then say that it doesn't matter because the document is monogamous marriage? We are imposing or insisting that this is your wife and this is not your wife.
Was a divorce decree issued by a court?
No, certainly not. It appears not.
So who was the wife?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking you. Is the court interested in the conduct of the parties over the last few years before he died?
If you look at Section 1, Section 2, and Section 3 of the Matrimonial Causes Act, the ambit for the issuance of a decree of divorce is often strict. And in fact, those are one of the few instances where the court is given the power of being an inquisitor, an inquisitorial role, to investigate whether or not the marriage has broken down beyond reconciliation in order to issue a certificate. So there's issue the decree of divorce. So there's a presumption in favor, always there's a presumption in favor of divorce. There's a presumption in favor of marriage and the preservation of marriage. So in this instance, we cannot assume that once an individual has married under the ordinance, the person knows he or she is married under the ordinance and yet merely does not like the person he or she is married to. That mere act serves to dissolve the marriage. What the second lady may be allowed, or what the family may allow them to do is, as I said, the funeral I attended in 2023,
for both of them to act as wives.
As wives, potentially. And
what about
just sit down.
I think the estate is more important than the funeral.
Yeah, but people fight over funeral, though.
But the funeral is what guarantees you a part of the estate.
Not quite. Not quite. The funeral is one thing, and the estate is another. But people fight over funerals. That's all I said. That there was a case I'm doing.
You said so. Yeah.
The one lady Kwewu, they were fighting for the funeral because under Akan customary law, there is some precedence given and recognition given to the spouse of a dead person, of the deceased, being recognized as the spouse of the deceased. They come and parade themselves in the funeral grounds. For those of us in Accra, we really don't see it because in Accra, once the person dies, you send the person to church. You send the person to church often at 6 a.m. The priest will pray over the coffin, sprinkle holy water over the coffin, close the coffin, and then you go and bury. That's all. Accra, normally you will send a person to Lashibi funeral home or send a person to transitions. Those things really don't apply here. But when you go to places like Kumasi, when you go to Kumasi, Kufuridua, these things are big deals. They go to courts over who is recognized as the spouse. And so the reason maybe we are not able to get or comprehend, maybe people say, oh, that's a way, that sort of thing. But for them, because of the customary respect that they give to the deceased person, these things are quite a big deal. I think it would be better if they just call all of them and sit. So I think it was born out of the fact that everything was done at her blind side.
Yeah, I think he's unhappy with the family. Yeah.
Exactly. Maybe they could have just called them, sat down, told her that, oh, looking at the way things are, let us sort of jaw and see how we could best manage the situation. Because she herself may also have to recognize that Lumba has shown the world that he was with
another woman.
Exactly. And so she has to be made to understand. But I don't think the practice of, just going out and issuing a statement that's December 6th without informing the wife or the children may be the best thing. And that's
or her children. Or she says her children have not been informed.
Yes, that's the wife or her children.
But was she part of the 1 week celebration and all that?
She
I think
came,
she was.
yes.
Yeah.
And that's why I
recognized?
It was a bit of a thing for those of you that watched, for those of us that watched it on social media, because although Bruni was seated there, and in fact she was given somewhere to sit, that seemed a bit far from the main action. And in fact, Roman father, this woman who passed to glory's vice president.
Yeah,
I forgot. I don't know. Ikuadonko's running mates came out to say that. Come what's me, Sewafusu is the wife of Daddy Lumba. Others said no, it is Odo Bruni. So there was a bit of a fracas. But I'm sure because of the respect, and it had happened fresh.
And the high profile people who were coming
exactly.
in. Yeah.
And that was what I said, that for many people who did not really know Daddy Lumba going way back, that was the very first time they had seen Sewafusu.
Oh, those who knew him in Germany, where he lived a lot of his life.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Those
who don't know him way back, those who
don't know the generation, the Gen Z people.
The Gen Z people, all they know is Odo Bruni. If my group study mates, they thought so. It was when she came and said, Daddy Lumba has a wife.
Has Daddy Lumba sang Odo Bruni in any song? Does he make reference to her?
I don't. I mean, I'm sure maybe there's a song.
In his Yentio song, who was he suggesting tried to poison him?
I don't.
But you know about that song? And you know there's a suggestion of poison. No, he said he had the people something like that. Yes, he was suggesting that they had tried to poison him.
I don't really want to get into.
Yeah, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. As a lawyer.
Those are maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll go and see a pastor.
Let's see what people think about this on the text message. But I've sent a video to Tarek. Get the video, and then after the text message, we'll deal with it. But that's very interesting. Who are the lawyers for the case, by the way? Do we know?
I've not. In fact, it was the reports that we have seen.
Has appearance
been
entered into the?
No, it's today that the news.
Right.
We haven't seen a copy of the writ yet, so we can. But I suspect what happened was the media houses were given the information and not the writ per se.
Okay.
Because there's a growing concern about leaking processes, court processes. So now I think maybe some of them are just trying to get the information out and not necessarily the court process. And I think that's better than